All right, I'm 65, and I start by telling you that because I have one slide. And I want you to stay fascinated with the slide. What does that mean? Okay, so while I speak in your mind, that should be subliminally playing over and over. What's it mean? Don't be thinking that I don't have slides because I didn't know how to do a PowerPoint at my age. I just couldn't. So this is what Mr. Gordon Jack helped me with this morning, and it means a lot. So my name is Cristy Dawson. I retired from this high school 2014. I started my career in education in Los Angeles Unified, and I worked down there for 25 years. Los Angeles is probably everything that you could imagine Los Angeles is. It was pretty crazy. My students were kind of getting killed every year, so literally, so I was deciding I needed to move north. So my husband got a job at the NASDAQ, and I brought my two young sons, husband, we all came up here, and I started working, continuation. After several years, I did adult ed, then I came here, worked as a counselor, promoted to admin, and worked running counseling, and then ended my career with about a decade in activities, which was overall my very favorite job that I've ever had. I'm going to tell you a little bit today about resilience. I love that word. When I taught activities here, I said that is the word that you have to have in your head, because resilience is all about elasticity, how you bounce back. If you think of a rubber band that you stretch and it goes through something, you release and it returns to its form. And that, I think, is key to how students, young people, adults face life. I don't also have slides because I wanted to just kind of riff and talk about different things and not be tied to what I had to talk about next. The reason resilience strikes a chord for me is because of my background. And as I came to school, I don't wear a sign about what that was. I think sometimes you go up and see somebody, you can see them visually as a person they are, and you can know some of their background. You can hear their voice, you know where they're from, you can look at clothing and make judgments about that person. I was a kid that would, on the outside, I think, present as pretty normal, and the inside, not so much. So a lot of the hardship that young people can face, it can be addiction within the family, it can be an absent parent, it can be illness, poverty, abuse, it can be all these things. So today what I want you to kind of think about is how that can feed you and how you can use that to empower you to know how to fight back and how to go after life. As a young person, I grew up in a small town. My grandparents were there, their parents had been there, so everybody kind of knew who my family was. Again, on the outside, I think we look pretty good. We faked it, I think, pretty well. That whole concept of picket fences, and there's the house, and oh, those kids are pretty good kids overall, and life is good. But inside it was certainly not the case. Absent parent, I had that. My father was a Pan Am pilot. It's a very sexy career, I think. He flew F-106s. When I was a little kid, I'd run out in the street, and my dad literally would come down in a jet and put it into afterburner and go boom, and all the buildings would shake, and he'd wave and fly away. He actually couldn't wave right then because he's going too fast, but he'd circle around and come back and wave, and then he was off. So, pretty great guy. He looked just pretty great. Now, the truth was he wasn't there because he was in Pango Pango or Tahiti or wherever the hell he'd go. He wasn't like a regular dad. He didn't go to work at 9 a.m. and he was there at dinner. He would go to work Tuesday and you'd see him a week or so later. So I never kind of knew where he was. You know, you're a teenager, you're not tracking your parents. So I was like, he's gone, when's he coming? What's going on? The part in my life that was problematic for me was primarily my mother. I had an older brother who became an alcoholic, I would say about the age of 14 or 15. His life is, we're talking now, but we go sometimes, we've gone as long as maybe 8 years, a decade without talking. He became an addict young. He, to this day, right now, if you went and said, what's his career, he deals drugs. So kind of different path than I took here. It didn't work in the main office to sell weed, so I never did it. It didn't work. But he does it, and he still does it. So that's my big brother. He went to Vietnam. He came back crazier than when he went. So alcoholic, pretty much drug addict. He's now kind of blown out his heart from too much smoking of weed and cigarettes. He's an alcoholic, the DUIs, all the stuff. So he now consumes. He has to eat his weed. I don't know about it. I don't fall, and I like it that way. So that was my big brother. He couldn't take care of me. He would like run away all the time and go do weird stuff. I was at home. I was what would be known as the parentified child. And if you're in a family situation that's kind of nutty, a lot of time there's the kid that gets kind of trained to be the parent. So that was my job. I had a younger sister, and my younger sister, I kind of parented her. And we kind of duked it out somewhere, I don't know, in our late 20s or 30s. She's like, why are you so pissed at our parents? What's wrong with you? And I realized she wasn't angry because I go and put her to bed and then I deal with stuff. So I want you to understand my mom's drinking. There are movies that make drinking kind of cute. You know, Arthur, I think of that. That's an old-time movie where he's a big drunk and he's funny and nerds, and you just laugh all the way through the movie. And a lot of times, you think of the stoner and Clueless, Sean Penn, just like drug addiction is funny, and you're watching it and it's humorous. In my case, it wasn't funny at all. So my mom, I've told this story at camp, and I took kids to camp 2 times a year sometimes for about a decade. But the story that kind of encapsulates my mom pretty well and kind of shows me is I found her. Now, she would drink a lot, not a couple of beers and then I'd call it a day. My dad tells a story that he marked her bourbon bottle with a mark, kind of to see how much she drank. And then the next day he went and looked, and he goes, where's the mark? Not realizing that it's a new bottle. So that's like, I would come home from school and open the refrigerator to get some food because we lived like a block from school, and her drink was already going. So she would just start at dawn and it went all day long. So this particular night I remember so well. And she's sitting in this leather chair. Now, she's a smoker. She's, I mean, addict. So big time boozer and smoker. Since she's maybe like 16, 17. You know, during the World War II, they glamorized. You look at those old black and whites you guys have seen, and they're smoking. Everything's cloudy. They're puffing away. And my mom grew up with that and smoked. So this particular night, she's sitting in her leather chair, and she's kind of crying. My patience with her was not there. You know, I want you to picture me, I guess I would probably be maybe 8th grade or something. In 9th grade, we did a human pyramid in the gym during halftime at basketball, and the kid that went to the top of this pyramid of like, 20 girls was me, because I weighed like 10 pounds. So I was just a little stick. And I was trying to take care of this woman. And if you drink that much, the caloric intake is hard to imagine. So my mom got very, very large. So she's whimpering, and I'm going, come on, come on. The next really rude thing my parents did was have a 2-story house. A 1-story house, I could have waddled her down, careening against the walls, and put her to bed. But of course her bedroom's upstairs. So it was like a cartoon. Trying to get her upstairs. And when I got her upstairs and started to get her disrobed, I saw why she had been kind of whimpering. She couldn't speak because she was too drunk. But what she had done is dropped her cigarette. And she's in a leather chair. And I swear to you, I saw this leather chair. I don't know why it's still in my family. When everybody's dead, I'll burn it. But she dropped it. And the cigarette laid between her flesh and the chair. and burned. Now, try to imagine being that drunk that you don't go, oh, I should move. That's like chewing through my flesh. No, she just kept it there, burned a big old hole about that long in the chair, which, as I say, I recently saw. And then she had, of course, this pussy, gnarly hole in her flesh that stayed with her forever. I say that because that was my life, and it was horrible. And here I am, an 8th grader with a dad who's gone. Also, there's a whole bunch of other stuff. This is so much more about me than I thought. How fascinating am I, though? Come on. So, sorry, I'll get to the point of this soon. But I need you to know that this was constant. This was hard. I didn't know where to go. There was no such thing as Alateen or you go tell people. If you're trained in an addicted home or a sick home, a lot of times, there's called codependency, enabling. I'm sure some of you know of this. And the truth is, keep your mouth shut and act like everything's okay. So you do get kind of crazy because you know everything sucks, but you're pretending everything's okay, and the reality is like, where is it? And so if you live in that kind of distorted thing, like Twilight Zone life for a long time, it's not good. I'm talking about this specific night. I need you to know lovers were caught in bed with my mother. My dad had girlfriends. There were a lot of things that were pretty horrible. So my mom eventually quit drinking, not for me, not for us. She quit drinking because the doctor said if you keep drinking like this, you'll be dead. So addicts are very selfish, and she thought, oh, I want to be around, so she quit. She moved on to pills. So she stayed kind of in orbit most of the time. I tell you this because I am going to say that living with that kind of adversity, I used to think, oh, I could only come from normal people and have that kind of solid Ozzie and Harriet happy life. I would be kind of not as crazy as I am, and life would have been so much easier for me. But what's really true is having some of that adversity. What I realized later in my life is I was a much better assistant principal when I'm talking to kids who are saying, you don't understand, my life's hard. Well, I didn't sit and tell them what I just told you, but of course I could be empathetic. Now the worst period of time, in my humble belief, is the age you are right now. There's some goofy people that'll say, I remember people telling me, teenage years, oh, if I could go back, it's the best. I just disagree like crazy. I think when you're young, there's a period of time you think your parents are unbelievable. Life is good, you kind of are not aware. It's a good time. I'm going to get a sip. It looks like alcohol, but during this talk, I don't want you to be scared. It's iced tea. See if I'm walking a straight line so you're not worried. Okay, so when you're your age, I've worked with so many kids over the years, and when you're there, it's really the time in your life you can't leave. I used to say to kids, how old are you? I'd say 15. I'd say, okay, in a few more years, you'll go to college. Once you get out on your own, there was that wonderful campaign for gay kids a half a dozen years ago where they said, be patient. It'll be okay later. Because the truth is, the stuff you have to endure during the high school years, it's hard. And you can't get out. And it's like you're in a little rat cage every day because if you hate this person or just that guy just broke your heart and dumped you last week and is now over there with that girlfriend of yours, and you have to deal with that, you still have to walk into that stupid class and sit across from them every day. Come college, come career, come marriage, if you need to bail, you can. But most kids, when they're home, and that's how it's got to be. So I want you to stay strong with that stuff. I want you to know, now let's get to the meaning of this. I want to tell you one other story about a kid too. And it matters because she reached out, I have her card here. She wrote to me last week. She was a student here. She was in my ASB class. And when I think of adversity, her mother was in Asia all the time, not here. dad raised her. She was crazy for her dad, so that was good. And she had an older sister. He dropped him off for school. She did a full day, went out front, and in front of Los Altos High, where's Pops, you know? Time goes by, he never shows. She finally went home. She finds her dad dead in the shower. He had gone home after dropping her off that morning, had a heart attack, and been laying in that shower for the day. She found him. Now, she's at the top of the kids I would say I've worked with who've really fought through it. And I went to her wedding this summer in Santa Cruz. She walked herself down the aisle. It's the first time I've ever seen that. She didn't want anybody else. It was about her. And she just wrote me. And what she said to me was, I'm not telling you this that I'm so fabulous, but that I was her resource. So when she went through this unbelievable nightmare, she knew she had to reach out. And that is what today is about for you too. That when you face these things, because you will face them. I went to my 5-year class reunion, people were still puffed up. By 20 years, everybody had tragedy. You will have things in your life you have to face. You need to find resources, people you can talk to, people you can share your heart with, and people who will support you as you move through these times that are in front of you, that seem insurmountable. And at age 65, I'm here to tell you, you can do it. So you want to be that goldfish. You got it? That's what this means, finally, which is the theme of my story. Swim along, be who you are, but know you're going to have to fight. Develop that. The strongest thing that helps people, the asset is determination. Be a problem solver. Just work out wherever you are, how can I make the best of this? And know that you will get through it on the other side. And you'll be better for it. So find those resources. Be a resource for others. And get a network that surrounds you, that builds your soul, that gives you heart. And I'm so fortunate that I have that. I now have a husband, a couple of sons, grandkids, and I have created the family that I wanted. And you can see the result is 2 different paths. My brother took the path of the addict, and I took the path away from that. Way away from that. And we both were in the same environment, so you guys are going to make those choices. I want you to be strong. I promised them I could make it this whole time. They gave me 3 extra minutes. I have 13 seconds left. So please know you can do it, okay? Be that fish with that shark stuff on top. Know that you've got whatever you need inside of you, okay? Bless you.